Hello all, thank you for tuning into the webinar to learn more about the Platform for Advanced Wireless RFP process. This webinar is hosted by the PAWR Platform Office, led by me, Megan Hispand of US Ignite, and my fellow PAWR Platform Office colleague, Kaushik Chowdhury, the Academic Outreach Director, and he is of Northeastern University. This RFP will focus on full proposal basics, including the core components of the RFP, merit review criteria, full proposal components, and the EDIS submission of your proposal. Note that all participants will be on listen-only mode, though you can feel free to email us at info@advancedwireless.org, and we will answer your questions during today's call or post Q&As to our website. Additionally, today's slides and a recording of the webinar will be available for download later today. Let's go ahead and get started. The PAWR program is enabling an experimental exploration of new wireless devices, communication techniques, networks, systems, and services that will revolutionize the nation's wireless ecosystem while sustaining U.S. leadership and economic competitiveness. Participating companies benefit by helping to sustain U.S. industry leadership, shaping design of research platforms, and securing cutting-edge research returns well in excess of the initial investment. Participating communities benefit by building core wireless capabilities through creative university partnerships, attracting government and corporate research funding and local wireless jobs, and utilizing advanced wireless capabilities to enhance city services and economic development. The PAWR Project Office is managing this $100 million public-private partnership to deploy and manage up to 4 city-scale research testbeds. The PAWR PPO manages the $100 million public-private partnership and oversees the research platforms. The PPO is co-led by US Ignite and Northeastern University. It collaborates closely with NSF, the wireless research community, local communities and industry, in part through the industry consortium and the design, development, deployment, and initial operations of the research platforms. PAWR is funded by NSF and a wireless industry consortium of more than 30 companies and associations. The initiative will accelerate research and the commercialization of wireless technologies. In this third and final round of the PAWR program, we are specifically seeking proposals that support research in novel technologies and architectures to reduce the cost of delivery of broadband to rural communities. We'll chat more about the rural broadband focus a bit later in the webinar. As I mentioned, my fellow PPO colleague Kaushik is joining me as a host of today's webinar. The PPO team is made up of more than 10 subject matter experts. I've included the contact information of a few of our team members on this slide. If you have any RFP-related questions related to your full proposal submission, you can send us an email at info@advancedwireless.org. This is the fastest way and most efficient way to get a hold of us and ensures that you're reaching the entire PPO team. I'll now hand it over to my colleague Kaushik, and he will dive into the rural focus of the RFP. Kaushik?
Yes, thank you, Megan, and thank you everyone for joining in. So this RFP is a little bit unique given our historical release of the other RFPs that have come before this. So this time we are being a little prescriptive in the kind of projects that we would love to see. For example, this one specifically has a rural broadband focus. Now, when I say rural, I just want to clear that it does also involve low density geographic areas. So it's hard to really in a very quantitative way define that this scenario is rural versus not. But the technology has to apply for sparsely separated devices and be able to transmit over long distances at high rates. So that's a sort of the scope and the scale that we're looking at. Now, when we are looking at the rural focus, we are really looking at technology that may or may not exist today. So for example, if there is something in the upcoming 5G rollout that you feel can apply, well, go ahead, definitely take that and consider this, as well as other innovative solutions. And I believe the RFP did list a couple of interesting approaches that could be used. You could have RF in the middle to connect fiber islands. You could have multi-hop relay mesh networks, beamforming, multi-antenna, other multi-antenna systems works. So a variety of different technologies that one can use to satisfy this very interesting problem. And in addition to technology, there is also an aspect of a novel architecture. Now, here in the rural environment, there are different rules that apply, different permits that can be obtained that allow you to transmit at lower or higher powers, that allow you ease of siting and multi-tower setups, and all of these can be or can become part of an interesting architecture that supports the innovative technology itself. So there is, we believe, an interesting play of technology and architectures here. And just to give a little bit more, be a little bit more specific about where we would love this platform to operate. So at a high level, we would love to have bandwidth that is, say, comparable to what you can do using current Wi-Fi. But on the other hand, the range has to be something that is in the range or even exceeds that what can be obtained by LoRa. And these are just two example technologies that I'm giving you. But on the other side, you would like to have a cost per bit significantly lower than existing cellular technologies like LTE. So here is this interesting space which does not exist today, and that's where the challenge comes in. And we are very excited to see what the proposals come up with. So Megan, back to you.
Thank you, Kaushik. The PPO is looking forward to receiving your full proposal next month. The proposals are due by 6 p.m. Eastern on December 13th. As for the next steps after you submit your proposal, in early February 2020, review panels will meet to discuss and score the submitted full proposals. And sometime in February, after the panels meet, we will notify the finalists by email and inform them of their upcoming site visits. Site visits with finalists will be scheduled for March 2020. And at these site visits, the finalists that are selected for the site visits will hold an in-depth technical negotiation with the PPO and industry consortium representatives to create a bill of materials outlining more exact details for the proposed deployment and operations planning. And finally, the winning platform will be announced in the third quarter of 2020. We touched on many of these basics during the LOI webinar. You can feel free to refer to that October 10th LOI webinar, though I just wanted to reinforce a few key points. Number one, only those TIs and entities that submitted LOIs are eligible to submit a full proposal. Project directors and PIs may be affiliated with universities and colleges or with nonprofit, non-academic organizations as defined in the RFP. An individual who is a PI on one proposal may not participate as a PI or co-PI on any other proposal, though they can participate in another role as senior personnel. And the PPO will ensure that these constraints will be enforced in order to treat all proposers fairly. And let's just say if there is a PI on one proposal and the PI also submits another proposal, that means that the proposal received within the limit will be accepted based on the first submission. And lastly, the PPO will award up to $8 million in cash from NSF and up to $8 million of in-kind contributions from the PAWR Industry Consortium per platform over the 5 years. And this is subject to the availability of funds and contributions. and we will make the award to the winning platform by a cooperative agreement. The success of the PAWR program rests on the collaboration among key important stakeholders within the information technology innovation ecosystem. These key partners include university researchers, private sector companies such as local ISPs, network providers, and local communities, governments, and tribes. We have had several for-profit entities reach out to us recently wanting to participate in the PAWR platform. So therefore, we launched the PAWR Match program, which I will go through in the next slide. And we will be releasing additional PAWR Match profiles later today. To facilitate potential partner matchmaking, as I mentioned, we have launched PAWR Match. And this is a optional matchmaking service run by the PPO, and it's perfect for organizations that are looking for other partner organizations. The private matchmaking forum will allow potential PAWR proposers to find partners for their proposed PAWR platforms, helping them combine expertise and create more robust PAWR proposals and partnerships. And as I will outline in an email later today, which I will send out, for those that filled out a PAWR profile and indicated that we can share your information, we will share the updated spreadsheet with those that filled out a profile. And then if any PAWR Match profiles spark your interest, you can feel free to reach out to the contact directly to make a connection. And if you want to be removed from the PAWR Match profile process, if you've already submitted a profile, you can just shoot us a note and let us know that you would like to be removed in case, let's just say, you already found a partnership through the PAWR Match process. I will now turn it over to Kaushik again, and he will discuss the merit review criteria in detail.
Thank you, Megan. So the merit review criteria has not changed substantially since the very early rounds of PAWR. So those of you who are PAWR veterans might recognize these 6 important criteria. So I'll just go through them and give some commentary on how they're important. So the vision and technical merit is a key piece of the overall proposal. And this is where we want to see the innovation, both in terms of wireless technologies or in architecture. And really, can this be built? Can the platform be built? And a new criterion here is whether the technical aspect is blending well with what can be done through also the industry consortium contribution. So this is an important piece which we will need your careful review of the resources, of the chart of resources that is being made available as part of this RFP. Then, in addition, there is a question about the research community. For example, even though the focus is on rural broadband, as you can see that the technologies such as, we mentioned a few in the RFP, those have wide appeal. So academic researchers, industry researchers from wide fields can make use of the platform and test, if not an application in rural broadband, but at least the core enabling technologies that are realizing this. So one needs to show that there's a community of researchers who can use this, and especially there's a set of early users who can then be evangelists for the broader wireless community. There is need of community engagement, and even so in this one, even more so in this one than in the previous ones, because right now you really need to involve the community to support these newer kinds of architecture that may need different kinds of space and other permissions. It needs the engagement of the rural partners. So there are a variety of stakeholders in this community that must be closely aligned. The whole vision of PAWR is to allow reproducible, at-scale experimental research, and also allow open access, diverse kinds of experiments, and healthy programmability. Now, not every piece needs to be fully programmable down to the physical layer, but there needs to be sufficient knobs to make the platform exciting and interesting to external researchers. The implementation plan is something that the PPO looks at very rigorously and is works side by side with the platform performer from the very conception to the final implementation. And we would love to see a stage-wise approach where by year one, there is a pilot ready, which we can have a certain set of early users to play with. And by year three, it is fully operational. So there needs to be a gradual implementation and demonstrations of capability, but it does need to be operational by the year three of from the start of the project. And sustainability is important because at the end, we will want to see this platform serving the community for many, many years to come. And it might evolve over the years. So there needs to be some plan as to how this would be made sustainable. So with that, I will turn this back to Megan.
Thank you, Kaushik. We've chatted about the RFP merit review criteria, eligibility, and teaming, and now I'd like to take some time to chat through your full proposal submission and how to submit your full proposal. Here are some important things to keep in mind when submitting your full proposal. Number one, full proposal should be submitted through the EDIS system. Number two, the lead PI and institution must remain the same for the full proposal and the submitted LOI. However, the makeup of the team can change at the discretion of the lead PI. The proposal title must begin with PAWR Platform Full Proposal, your project name. The project description is limited to 30 pages, and this includes figures, charts, graphs, maps, photographs, and other representations. And there are other required documents that should come along with your project description, and we will discuss these in detail shortly. Now I'll go into the details which will make up your project description. And please remember to refer to the RFP in detail to learn more details, specifically which components should be included in each one of these sections. Proposals with incomplete and incorrectly formatted or missing project description documents will be returned without review. So please be sure to review the RFP in detail. And we reserve the right to request that proposers provide additional supplementary information during the review process. And typically what happens is right after your proposal is submitted, we will conduct an initial compliance review to make sure that your project descriptions and attachments that come along with the project description are in line with the requirements as outlined in the RFP. And if anything needs to get fixed, we will reach out to you by email, usually within the first week of submission. And as I mentioned earlier, the project description should not exceed 30 pages. The project description should include a total of 10 sections. And section 1 is the platform vision. Section 2 is the platform technical architecture design. In section 3, you should include a description of the research community support and the new research to be uniquely enabled by the platform. In section 4, you should include a description of engagement among academic researchers, industry, and the local community. In section 5, you should detail the platform's alignment with the PAWR vision. In section 6, you should include your platform development plan. In section 7, you should include the sustainability plan. In section 8, that should be the risk mitigation plan. Section 9 should include the management plan, organization structure, and project staffing. And section 10 should include the contributions of key personnel in the last 5 years. As I mentioned, there are other requirements that are required as well, and these do not count against the 30-page limit that I mentioned for the program description. So if there are any page limits associated with each of these required documents, I will let you know. Number one, for biographical sketches. Biographical sketches should be limited for up to 10 personnel, including the PI, co-PIs, and senior personnel. And each biographical sketch should be limited to 2 pages. So therefore, the page limit for your biographical sketches is up to 20 pages. And you should ensure that all 10 team members are registered as co-authors in the EDIS system, so that way the PPO can crosswalk any potential conflicts of interest, and we can identify those potential conflicts and address them to make sure that the members of the PPO and reviewers do not read a conflicted proposal. Second is the budget and budget justification. Proposers, specifically PIs, should have received a PowerPoint deck and a recording and a template from the PPO last Thursday. And that recording details step-by-step processes to keep in mind when populating your budget templates. You should use the NSF proposal preparation instructions for the cost category definitions. And as I mentioned, the 5-year Excel budget template has been made available to you. If you have any questions regarding the template and how to populate it, please visit the tutorial or send us an email. And regarding the budget justification, the budget justification is a narrative, and it must be no more than 5 pages. And the budget and budget justification proposed to the PPO should include the total request of funds, including the cost of all platform equipment and services to be covered by the award, and it should also include indirect costs. And one thing to keep in mind regarding the budget justification, there should be a budget justification submitted for all subrecipients associated with an award as well. For the facilities, equipment, and other resources section, this section is limited to a total of 7 pages. And in this section, proposers should describe the facilities and resources that are available to the proposing team to support the proposed platform. For the data management team, proposals should include a document of no more than 2 pages. And this document, specifically the data management plan, should describe how the proposal will conform to the PPO data management plan. And this section is limited to 2 pages. And this data management plan should include subawards, and the prime and the subaward should submit a single unified data management plan. And last, letters of support. The PPO encourages proposers to obtain documentation from individuals such as the Chief Technology Officer of the city, Chief Information Officer, or an equivalent leader, as well as letters of support from any partner representations from local ISPs. And one side note, we strongly discourage proposers from soliciting letters of support from the round 1 or round 2 winners of those platforms. There will be plenty of time for collaboration after an award is made, but we ask that you do not contact them for this stage of the process. And lastly, for a list of project personnel and partner institutions, this list should include all PIs, co-PIs, senior personnel, paid and unpaid consultants, or collaborators, subawardees, and postdocs. And it should also include the full name, organization, and role in the project of each individual. And note that you may enter this information directly into EDIS as well. And if this this information should be entered into EDIS, and therefore you do not need to provide this document as a supplemental upload if all the information required is in EDIS. As I mentioned previously, we did release a budget tutorial, and I'll just go over some budget basics, and if you need a refresher on the budget template, feel free to refer to that recording. You should be completing 2 different budget versions, and we recommend that you complete the functional budget first in the Excel workbook that we sent you last Thursday. The second and third tabs of the workbook, the orange tabs, are the functional budget tabs. And this functional budget should map to the major components needed to complete your project to the dollars that are needed to complete the project. And you'll notice within that workbook that the budget tab of the workbook contains 3 tables: equipment, services, and other. And you should ensure to enter information only in the white cells and not the gray cells. Within that workbook as well, you will find a NSF budget, and this budget is included in the blue tabs within the workbook. And you are likely used to completing this similar budget template form when you have submitted NSF proposals in the past. And please remember to keep industry consortium contributions at or below $8 million and the NSF cash budget at or below $8 million, including indirect costs. Now I will just touch base on a few formatting requirements to keep in mind when submitting your project description and other supplemental documents. We ask that you number each page and that you use size 11 font, and that you use standard single column format for text. And if any of these formatting requirements are disobeyed, then we will contact you and you will have to likely resubmit your proposal to us. You may notice in EDIS that there are many required documents that you're required to upload. However, EDIS limits the number of uploads to a total of 5, meaning that you will need to consolidate many of your uploads. So for the first upload, part 1, the project description, this should just include your project description, which is limited to 30 pages. The second upload should be the PAWR Excel budget template, and that is the Excel budget template. And there is no limit to the number of pages that your Excel budget template can have. For part 3, this is a section where the number of pages associated with each section may vary. So we ask that you upload your biographical sketches, which are limited to up to 20. Letters of support, the limit is 2 pages per letter of support. A list of project personnel and partner institutions, your budget justification, and as a reminder, you're limited up to 5 pages per proposer and 5 pages for each subawardee, and the optional bibliography. And part 4, this should be your facilities, equipment, and other resources plan, and this is limited to 7 pages. And last, your 5th upload should be your data management plan, which is limited to up to 2 pages. And one important note about when you register your paper in EDIS, proposal submissions are referred to as papers within the system, and you should search for round 3 platforms for advanced wireless proposal submission through the submit paper mechanism to register your full proposal. And note that even though you already submitted an LOI, you should register your full proposal in EDIS. You're not automatically registered to submit your full proposal, you have to perform that function in the system. And last, before we jump into the questions and answers, I just wanted to briefly go over the process once you submit your proposal on December 13th. As I mentioned, there will be a merit review process that incorporates the consideration of both the technical aspects of a proposed project and its potential to contribute more broadly to advancing the nation's health, prosperity, and welfare. The PPO will conduct a fair, competitive, and transparent merit review process for the selection of projects, and we will oversee a panel of independent, non-conflicted experts who will review and evaluate the proposals and provide recommendations to the PPO. And then the PPO, in consultation with NSF and non-conflicted designated representatives of the industry consortium, will make a final selection and funding recommendations. And as I mentioned, we take conflict of interest rules very seriously, and these rules will be implemented consistent with NSF policies at all stages of the review and award process. So we just ask that you ensure that your EDIS conflicts are updated in the system so we can accurately crosswalk this information to the conflicts that our reviewers have to ensure that there are no conflicts. And then reviewers too will be asked to ensure that there are no conflicts. And after the review process and the PPO selects the finalists, we will conduct site visits in March 2020. And here we will work with the site visit finalists and the PAWR Industry Consortium members during the site visit to identify feasible technology contributions, some which may be unknown to proposers prior to this final stage. And based on these site visits and additional technical negotiations with the finalists, a winning proposal will be selected in the third quarter of 2020. Now I will just go over a few Q&As that we have received, and then we will continue to post Q&As to our website. The first question we received is who will review PAWR proposals? And as I mentioned, these proposals will be evaluated by a peer review panel, and the panels will be composed of subject matter experts from academia, various government agencies and industry, including experts from companies that are members of the PAWR Industry Consortium. Question number 2, what merit review criteria will be used to evaluate a proposal? And please review the RFP in detail regarding the 6 merit review criteria, and Kaushik gave a great overview of the merit review criteria earlier. The 6 criteria are vision and technical merit, research community, community engagement, alignment with the PAWR vision, implementation plan, and sustainability. Question number 4, is international partnership considered an advantage or disadvantage? Can I budget for international researchers and facilities in my proposal? And the PPO considers international partnerships to be an advantage if they enhance one or more of the following: usability, diversity, and/or technical depth of a research focus in areas supported in sustainability models. However, no funds can be allocated to international researchers and facilities in the proposal. Question number 5, are there page limitations to the PAWR Excel budget template? And the answer is no, there are no page limitations to the spreadsheet. And I did receive a question by email, I believe yesterday, that I thought would be a great one to raise. And the question was if there could be 2 PIs associated with a particular PAWR platform? And the answer is there can only be one PI. However, if you would like another individual to be on PTO-related communications, you can let us know, and we can be sure to let that second co-PI know and be in the loop. But we just ask that there is one PI per proposal. Well, that wraps up today's webinar. We appreciate your time, and we will be sending out a recording and also the deck from today's presentation, and we will also be posting the Q&As to our website as well. Thank you for joining, and we look forward to receiving your proposals on December 13th.